So, welcome again for another episode in the Humans in the Loop series. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined here with Naresh because we're going to take a look at this from a business leader's perspective, maybe a little bit of finance, maybe a little bit of procurement. Naresh, do you want to introduce yourself formally to everybody?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Matt, for having me here. Pleasure to be here. My name is Naresh Kumar, based in London. I am a retained operating partner with private equity funds focused on AI, value creation, procurement, and finance, as you said. But on specific situations, I also take interim C-suite roles like Chief Procurement Officer, Chief Operating Officer to accelerate transformation and value creation in PE situations.
I think what's interesting about your role is that when you're in a private equity situation, you've got businesses that you're trying to bring together that really at this stage have no choice but to use AI to be successful. Maybe that's a very deep blanket statement, but you must experience, trying to motivate the sort of the workforce to use AI. Um, I'm testing out this term here that might motivate people, which is um, experience. So if someone brings experience plus AI, that can give wisdom at scale. And I think the combination of that experience and AI could be really powerful. But I don't know, what do you think about, your experience with AI inside your organizations, and whether you think that resonates with the people that are trying to adopt it?
Yeah, so I think in my line of work, especially private equity, if you think through the evolution, yeah, from say 1980s when the sort of PE started pretty much like in America, and I think what we see now and going forward is there's definitely a role for financial engineering to play in the deal making, but the operational value creation in terms of driving growth, improving margin, integrating companies you buy, I think is far more valuable in terms of deal economics. And it's the focus on ops value creation, which, in my view, is the reason behind excitement private equity has around AI. Yeah. To your point, if you look at the value of AI, right, and I think in my perspective, AI is surely a capability multiplier in terms of future proofing business for not this year, next year, but for next 10 years, 20 years. Yeah. You have to get it on the AI train if you want to have a sustainable business going forward. And then I think it's a value multiplier in terms of equity is all about buying good businesses at great value and then improving those businesses to deliver 3x, 4x, 5x returns to their investors. Yeah. How you do that is you look at what the business is good at, what's the core value proposition of the business, and what are the enabling functions which every business has to undertake. In my line of work, it will be all the G&A functions, your revenue ops, your procurement, your finance, your HR, yeah. And in all those areas, you could essentially split the roles in three buckets. One would be business partnering, procurement business partner, working with the C-suite business sort of budget holders. That's all about understanding the needs and wants of a customer and building trust and relationship to provide the right support at the right time. Yeah. That is very human centric activity. AI is not going to touch that. AI will improve and enhance that, but that's going to be primarily human specific role. Yeah. Then there's a piece around what we call center of expertise, which is what you highlighted as sort of somebody who has gray hairs, 10, 20 years experience, been there, done that, and they understand the organization, they understand the ecosystem they operate in. And again, in those situations, I think AI is a powerful enabler, yeah, to drive productivity. It's definitely, I think, sort of wisdom at scale. If you think through sort of my career journey, I started as a procurement sourcing manager, yeah,
Right.
going on the Google and sort of finding new suppliers. AI can do 99% of that in terms of supplier discovery, yeah. So if I'm looking for new vendors in different geography where my team doesn't have experience. AI has that experience. Go on Gemini, do a deep research, and you'll get a good report, good detailed report
Mm.
around how the market operates, who the key players are, who the key competitors are, what's their value pros and cons, etc. Yeah. So in that sense, I think AI makes a great expert more effective, more efficient.
Mm.
Then there's a piece around the transactional activities, which would be things like, purchase to pay, order to cash, record to report. Those are transactional activities.
Mm.
I think we are going through a chasm of trying to translate the productivity step change through AI into driving real efficiency and value,
Mm.
because implementing AI takes investment, time, effort, and resources. And there's a lot of investment going into these areas. It falls upon on the ecosystem providers like Google and C-suite leadership like me to
Mm.
make sure we have a coherent, tangible, actionable pathway
Mm.
to realize that productivity enhancement into value by implementing AI products and systems into core workflows.
It makes perfect sense. It's almost, I like the way you separated the experience and knowledge from those sort of transactional. I like that. Um, is it a bit like sort of automating the mundane if you're an individual with inside the organization? That's what we're trying to get them, so we can release them to use their experience to drive more value to the business. And how do you see it? How do you motivate people in these organizations that may be somewhat fearful of AI? It's going to take their job? What have you seen that works, and maybe what have you seen that doesn't work?
Yeah. So I think the buzzword keeps changing, right? And we have been through this sort of technology evolution, revolution before. Automation, I think, has been around for last hundreds of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think robotic process automation, robots in the factories. I think the unique thing about AI is it learns from itself. So it's
Mm.
not just automating the mundane processes, but I think it's adding a thinking layer to it with a human in the loop, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, maybe uh, in the next few years, you can take a human out of those transactional activities and let them focus on business partnering and center of expertise type role alone.
Mm.
But I think where we are, there's a lot of excitement. I think to your point, what I've seen, every technology in my career, I think, has gone through this curve of, super excitement, then bit of disillusionment,
Yeah.
people getting real about it, and then focusing on real use cases which
Mm.
drive value in the organization. Yeah. I think AI is going through that. 2025 probably was the year
Mm.
of there's so much investment going in the AI. What's the return? Yeah.
Mm.
Especially for enterprise grade AI. Nobody is challenging, doubting the productivity side of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you realize that productivity into efficiency, or in some cases growth? Yeah. um, I primarily focus on margin expansion, which is how do I restructure the cost base to
Mm.
be more effective, efficient, so that either we can scale up organization faster without putting uh, more revenue dollars into cost side,
Mm.
or how do I trim the cost base to generate fuel for growth, to invest in new thematics areas like digital, like talent, like global expansion, etc.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think the bridge between going from AI being a new tech tool and project to AI being the almost embedded part of the workflow, I think has to be, at least in my experience, a combination of top down and bottom up. Yeah.
Mm.
Top down being, is it built into a strat plan? If it's 3 year, 4 year, yeah. It's much easier in private equity because by nature of deal making, I think we are giving a stretch challenge to the portfolio company of turbocharging growth, turbocharging margin, because that's the whole um, sort of rationale of buying a specific company, of either changing it from distress to health or making it good to great. Yeah. Um, and when you're thinking through sort of that budgeting exercise of how do we deliver EBITDA from X to Y%, what are the building blocks of that value bridge? Yeah, how much growth, how much EBITDA will come from revenue growth, how much will come from margin expansion, how much will come from sort of M&A, and then also multiple expansion. I think AI touches upon all those four layers in terms of multiples going to be better because you have future proofed the company for the AI age. Yeah. And so it de-risks the company compared to other peers you might buy. Yeah. So you will get more X when you come to selling company. Then I think when it comes to sort of revenue growth, again you look at sort of marketing, content creation. AI can generate content at scale. It can turbocharge your sort of lead gen, funnel, sales ops, etc. That's one part. I think I won't touch upon that because that's not my bread and butter. Margin expansion, I think, is the area I get super excited about. Yeah, which is how do I restructure the cost base with almost a zero-based mindset. Yeah. So, and I'll give you an example of. I think carve out is a big theme in private equity. Yeah. Given the macroeconomic shocks and geopolitical pressures, I think most of sort of Fortune 1000 companies are forced to think what's core, yeah, and what's non-core, and can I offload the non-core to private equity or other buyers, get some cash back, and sort of focus on my core business, yeah. I think private equity as an industry has been very successful in picking up these sort of non-loved children from large corporates and then giving them the love, care, attention to be the leader and hero in their specific industry. Yeah. The challenge of the carve out is when you are trying to make it a standalone company, you're getting the core business, which is new products. I think the sales teams around it, the operational side of it, around factories, around resources. What you don't get is the support function. Yeah. So most carved out companies end up standing up their own sort of enabling functions, which they were historically buying from sort of parent group around your HR, finance, procurement. Yeah. And if you're going to stand up a new company, you can do it the old fashioned way or you can do it the new way. Why not do it the new way? And that's where I think I'm super excited about the AI, which is how do we redesign the enabling functions with AI at the heart of it. Yeah. And going back to that theme I mentioned of saying which roles are sort of business partnering, let's hire the best talent for those. Which are center of expertise type, make sure the new talent we bring in, both the leadership and experts, are AI savvy. Yeah. They might not be all the answers, but they are open to embracing using AI in day-to-day job. And then lastly, it comes down to sort of the transaction layer. Yeah. And every carved out company stands up a new ERP. SAP being a good example. So rather than using SAP as a system of records, can we work with Google Cloud, with SAP to leverage agentic AI to do those sort of transactional processes so that the humans in the team are able to do more exciting jobs, frankly. Yeah. And that efficiency helps you focus on growing your business. So I think that's the mindset I would approach it with, which is it's a threat for sure, right? And I think humans are, in my view, most irrational, emotional player in the whole AI transformation journey. Yeah. And a leader has to recognize that in terms of when we are thinking about enterprise AI rollout, what's the use case? Yeah. I'll give you a specific example. I think in my sort of recent and previous role as a chief procurement officer, we rolled out a AI product, agentic AI product, to essentially say compare and contrast bids. Right, you're buying something from the supplier,
Oh.
and then the agent will pick up sort of specific components of price, specifications, quantity, and then we'll build a spreadsheet to compare, contrast, like for like. Yeah, we thought sourcing managers and procurement managers will jump on it because it makes their life easy. Guess what? Adoption was very low, because
Interesting.
if this does work well, then do they need as many of us as they currently have,
Hmm.
or who will be let go, right? And the tool was delivering fine. I think it wasn't perfect, it was hallucinating, but it was giving you indexing of where did it pick the data from, so you could do a QA on it. Yeah, in terms of price of buying Google Cloud, what's the price, what's the term, what's the contract length. It was picking all those from PDF documents sent by suppliers,
Right.
and collating that information. um, we were getting the negative feedback around, oh, it's not accurate, I still have to check. Yeah, it's almost felt like justifying, why do I exist, why do you still need me? So we flipped the situation. I think we it was a high growth business, and um, our core business was again sort of almost selling to prime contractors. Yeah, so to deliver the work, we invite bids from other vendors, we add our value add, and then essentially sell it to our clients. Yeah, same tool, same capability, same tech stack, and we gave it to sales ops teams, which were thinking about the different challenge of market is very challenging. So with the same resources, I get to almost deliver or drive 2x, 3x of bids to hit the same revenue. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the challenge was, how can I get more bids out, even if my win rate is lower. With 3x more bids, I have a chance of getting to my stretch revenue target. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting what you're saying. So you've got one group of people that almost see that they're in competition with the AI, and they've sort of find a reason not to make it
Yeah.
work. But I think what's very fascinating about this is you've taken the same tool and gone, okay, I'm going to go and reposition this into a different group where they don't feel that sense of competition. In fact, the opposite.
Yeah.
They feel it fits an absolute need. How do you go about that sort of motivational aspect when you're doing one of these acquisitions, where you understand which groups are going to adopt, which groups are going to resist, and how do you change the resistance in that original group? Maybe there's a different tool.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a different use case where they're like, actually, you know what, I don't feel so threatened by that. That's actually quite. Have you sort of figured an approach or sort of a general sort of pattern in what you're seeing in the organizations you're working with?
So I think it surely comes with experience, right? I think when you deliver a big change like sort of AI, there are risks embedded into that by the very nature of change and transformation. Um, I've been quite lucky, I think, to sort of have more successes than failures, but I think it's the war scars and failures you learn most from.
Right. Yeah.
And I think when it comes to when change won't land is misunderstanding the potential of a specific lever, in this case AI, and the sponsorship from the leadership, right? When you think about driving enterprise-wide rollout, the CEO, the board, and the private equity has to be fully behind it.
Right.
I think the model is definitely changing. Earlier, it used to be, sort of leader follower. CEO cascades it down, and then everybody follows. I think with the pace of technology change, and I think at the pace at which agentic AI is evolving, I think we are almost switching to a sort of leader approach where
Yes.
everybody is a leader. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think thinking through tech debt, for sure, you don't want to be left with a old technology which doesn't let you compete and win in the future. but also the labor debt. If you don't do it yourself, somebody else will do it for you. Yeah.
Mm.
And you have to think about competing,
Mm.
which is uh, where the market is going, at least in our case. And to drive sort of growth like 3x, 4x, you have to think step change, and you have to pull those step change levers,
Mm.
AI being a unique one, right? To your point, I think what has worked and what has not worked, I think bottom up has not worked, which is purely let people play with the new toy. I think get new pilots going,
Mm.
uh, and tech people getting excited about technology, right? Not thinking about the business use cases. In the end, it has to drive value for the business. Yeah.
Mm.
So bottom up only doesn't work. At the same time, top down also doesn't work,
Mm.
because the leadership might want AI first or AI second approach in the boardroom. They need to have a clear pathway for the whole workforce to adopt that approach, right?
Mm.
And I haven't seen, I think, the sort of 60-year, 50-year-old um, being able to lay out that
Mm.
pathway. I think they have to go to the middle management and the front line
Mm.
to help them build that pathway and use cases, and I think roll out those use cases.
And it's a changing landscape, isn't it?
It's changing the
I
landscape for
mean,
sure.
I feel like we're all on this weird voyage of discovery. So I come from an SAP background where, there'll be a business objective, drive best practices, reduce inventory. Right, we're going to implement this system. You're all going to be trained on it. You're going to complete your training course.
Yeah,
This is different. I feel this is a tool that we can all use to do drive efficiency, but it's a two-way conversation.
yeah,
It's the person who does the job sort of understanding the tool, and then how using the tool in a way to drive efficiency, and then educating the senior leadership on what they've achieved with it.
yeah,
And then, well, I would do you see that, and then the senior leadership is kind of going, oh, that's interesting, that opens up an opportunity strategically for a business. So I like your approach that both sides are leading this. Is there How do you create sort of culturally a safe space, an area of communication? Because that's not normal for a lot of companies, is
yeah.
it? A lot of companies are very traditional in, it's leading leadership, set strategy, everyone executes it. So do you have any sort of thoughts on how you drive that cultural change, given the fact that this is different?
Yeah. I would say it's for sure, I think, combination of having the right leaders who walk the walk. Yeah.
Mm.
As a CEO, I think, and I haven't done a CEO role, but I think I work very closely with CEO, and I think the CEO who are doing well in leveraging AI to drive both growth and efficiency are the ones who are able to paint and lay out the strategic narrative. Yeah. Which is
Mm.
where the industry is going. Yeah. What does the industry looks like in sort of next 5 years, almost the duration of our strat plan. Yeah. And in our case, the duration of the hold period for the private equity investor. Yeah.
Mm.
um, and being able to translate that into what needs to change and prioritize. Yeah. I think CEO job is to make sure the leadership team, but also sort of CXO -2, -3, and -4 is coherently focused on those priorities. Yeah.
Mm.
And AI is not a lever in every company. Yeah. I think if it's in top five, go big on it
Mm.
and drive it from the top. If it's not, focus on other things you can drive right here, right now, in this quarter, in this year. Yeah.
Mm.
And then get to AI when you are ready for it.
Do you
So
see it's more of an amplifier? I mean, if your core go to market is flawed, then AI isn't going to make it solve the problem. But if you've got a great go to market, we just didn't have the resources before to execute, then you can appear a lot bigger in the marketplace than you were before. Do you see it as an amplifier of what's already there in the business, or do you see it as a transformer of how the business operates in altogether?
I think AI definitely accentuates and amplifies the problem. Yeah, if
Gotcha.
you have got a bad process, bad data,
Yeah.
I think putting AI into it is not going to solve your problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is where the leadership needs to have pragmatism of where we are in that journey from 1 to 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we got the foundations ready? If you have got single ERP system, I think you and I both know SAP very well.
Yeah.
If all of your data is in SAP, yeah, you can probably leverage Gen AI and Agentic AI to drive efficiency. But if your sort of enterprise data is sitting in multiple systems,
Mm.
you need to focus on getting that data in structured layer first
Mm.
before you can put any AI on top, right? Again, I'm a big fan of big query from Google. Yeah.
Mm.
I think getting to a sort of right infrastructure of, some of your data sits in your data center, some of your data sits in sort of cloud providers, private cloud, public cloud. Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, how do you build a layer on top to give you the insights? And rather than people shooting for 100%, because it's a mindset, right?
Yeah.
If you want to find faults, you'll find fault in anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the right mindset is, can it help me? Yeah.
Mm.
Can it enable me? And if it's 90% right, there's value in leveraging that 90%
Yeah.
rather than focusing on 10%, which is not working. Yeah. And then eventually figure out that 10% and getting better at reducing that 10% to 5%, 1%, 2% going forward.
You mentioned sort of, I hear this a lot. We've got to get our data right before we can do AI, and I always wonder if that's a good strategy, because you can do AI on processes that are never going to have great data, but the AI is, as you said, it's been 90% effective. Or you can focus on a specific process and get the data right for that. What's your sort of opinion? Should an organization spend time cleansing its enterprise data before doing AI, or should it be sort of a bit more of an evolution where they work on specific use cases? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that, by
Yeah,
the way. I think it's
there's no
just
right or wrong answer. I would say big bang for sure doesn't work. Yeah, you have to show small wins, build momentum, and then scale from there on. I think all the portfolio companies I work with who have got the excitement about AI, I think have got real use cases which are delivering value. As a co-investor, I work a lot with the VC funds and their portfolio companies who can't afford sort of operating partners like private equity, but they still want to leverage and I think provide sort of operating expertise to portfolio companies and founders. Yeah. And naturally, I think founders and founder-led companies and scale-ups are AI native, yeah, or at least tech native in most cases. So adoption is much higher, yeah.
yeah.
And I think the cost base is not a big play for them. It's all about growth, yeah. How do you go from seed to stage A to stage B to stage C in a span of 5 years? There, I think AI is very powerful. You can punch above your weight in the marketplace, as you said, yeah. Um, being able to build the funnel quickly, being able to reach out to your target segment quickly, being able to try digital marketing products with A/B testing quickly, getting to right value prop quickly. I think are all the use cases which are delivering value. Yeah. When you think about larger enterprises, in I think our situation, sort of anything about sort of 100 million top line businesses which have got a solid business, great customers, great product. How do you restructure the business to focus on its core value prop and almost make the enabling functions as a plug and play, right? Again, if you think through the evolution of outsourcing and shared services and now global capability center, it used to be I need to drive down the cost. let me outsource and offshore it to India, Vietnam, Malaysia, etc. Yeah, you don't have to do it now. So rather than going through a painful journey of working with different cultures, different time zones, you can deliver the same or better benefits working with the workforce in that market. So again, I think global capability center is a big lever. How we are seeing earlier, it used to be if you don't have 100 plus seats in your enabling functions, don't offshore, it's not worth it.
Right.
Now you can offshore, leverage GCC with seats as little as 20 seats.
Right.
Yeah.
Fascinating. A really interesting perspective. It's so often I look at AI from sort of an operational perspective. How can I optimize a process? But to hear you talk about it from a business leader's perspective is really, really fascinating. If there was, I guess actually I'm going to give you two parts of this question. If there was one thing that you'd sort of leave the audience with that they should do with AI in their business tomorrow, what would it be? But I'm going to give a second part to it if it's okay with
Yeah.
you. I'm going to say, is there one thing that you would avoid or sort of a pothole on your road to AI that you found yourself in that you would sort of make people aware of?
So I think to your first part, I would say embrace growth mindset. Yeah. Technology is here. I think it's going to revolutionize how businesses work, but all overall how society work. Yeah. Um, so you can be fearful of it, or you can embrace it. I think my favorite again punchline, which everybody I think knows these days, is AI won't take a job. Somebody using AI will. Yeah. So personally, as an individual, yeah, either individual contributor, as a sort of manager or manager of managers, you have to embrace AI. Yeah. It definitely makes you a lot more effective. As a chief procurement officer, I don't do as many hands-on sourcing exercises as I would like to. Yeah. But with AI, I still can keep in touch with the latest. Yeah. I can check and challenge my team much better. Yeah. This is where the wisdom comes in, right? So I would say embrace AI, leverage it, work with the ecosystem partners. Don't build it yourself. I think buy. Yeah. So as a, I think, chief procurement officer, we always advise sort of private equity funds and the boards of companies I work with is think through, buy and build. Yeah. And that whole old mantra of focus on your core where you are differentiated and put your energy, investments and focus there rather than trying to build a new agentic AI platform which Google and other providers can actually do much, much better than you. Yeah. And then think through, okay, how do I leverage it in my ecosystem of, my organization. Remind me what the second part was.
What would you advise people not to do? What would be the sort of gotcha that you've learned along the way?
So I started in private equity around sort of 2009 after the sort of on the back of '09 crisis. Yeah. Spent sort of first sort of 5 years in strat consulting firms like Accenture, Deloitte, A&M, and then over the years I moved into sort of senior operational roles like sort of C-suite roles or operating partner with PE portfolio companies. And I've seen sort of 50 plus transactions in my career so far. Um, what I've seen where leaders are more successful in the context of average tenure of a CEO in current landscape is 2.5 years. Yeah.
Right.
So
Wow.
all the things you are shaping out and strategy you are making, you might not be there to see the end of it. Yeah.
Interesting.
This is where I think a leader is equally reliant on the followers to be successful. That is critical in the AI age where you can't just be offhand of go and deliver it. Yeah, I've given you the target.
Mm.
You need to be in the weeds of testing out. I think I'm going a lot deeper into the processes rather than saying go and implement SAP. Yeah, which is
Mm.
sort of old-fashioned approach of hire a SI partner and they'll deliver it for you. Yeah,
Mm.
SI partners will map and clone your messy processes into the new systems. You need to work with the SI partners and your teams to redesign a AI ready process which can leverage and drive value from AI.
I think that's an absolutely brilliant point. I think that's a salient point, and maybe a great place to stop or conclude the conversation. Um, there was such a lot that you shared there. Thank you so much for coming and spending time with us today.
My pleasure, Matt.
Um, so my takeaway was, if I get this right, strong leadership. Um, drive your AI partners, as you just mentioned, to think about the new world of sort of AI processes. Um, and the leadership of this isn't from the top, isn't from the bottom, it's both. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Thanks, Matt.
And we'll look forward to seeing people on the next one.